I've saved the best till last, folks. We are at, once again, the beautiful River Dane at Massey's Farm, and we're on the stick float now. So we've covered the bollow, we've covered the flat float, now it's stick float time. My personal favouriteest way of fishing in the whole wide world ever, and again, really, really simple. Now, this particular style of stick float fishing really lends itself to basically not what I'm doing today, travelling really light. Obviously, if you're in a match, it's completely different, but it lends itself to fast flowing rivers, you know, sort of turbulent rivers, not fishing too deep, spread shots, looking to catch fish all the way through the water, but roving. That's the one with the stick float. The beauty is put your bait apron on, get a couple of pints of maggots in, you disgorger, you land in there, you rod, and away you go. It's so good for sort of like winter fishing, you know what I mean, and them cold days, getting up at the crack of dawn and just gone finding some little spots and travelling really light, catching a few fish out of each swim. Oh, folks, oh, I could go on all day about stick float. It's just, I love it so much. So first things first, again, really simple. So basically, it's sort of like waggler style tactics that you'll need for this in regards to your reel and your rod. So reel wise, 3000 size reel. You don't need a big reel for this. We've got this one loaded with 0.18 float max. Again, not too heavy, not too thick line because of the friction through your rod rings should you need to fish like a lighter stick float. If you're fishing too light a stick float with too thick a line, your float's going to be dragging back and your line's not going to go through your rod rings, certainly when you start catching a few fish. And 100% that does make a difference in presentation. If your float's sort of like twitching every time you go to release line or let line off the spool, you ain't going to be catching them big daddy chubs, as we call them. Trout and grayling of it, because they're just daft. They're like Richard, you know what I mean? They'll eat anything. They're like me then, aren't they? And Jamie. So yeah, 3000 size reel loaded with 0.18 line. The next thing is rod size. I'll always tend to use a 13 or even a 14 foot rod. I don't like going small rods because, not for today's purposes, we're going to be catching fish very close to us, no more than say 20 foot down our swim. But in the winter time, when you're sort of like long trotting, you know, you could go flipping heck 30 yards maybe, certainly 20-30 yards down the swim, and if you've not got the right rod to pick the line up when you get a bite, you're going to be missing a lot of bites. So I'd certainly recommend 13 foot rod as minimum. Now let me get the rig out so I can show you, but really simple. Float wise, we've got, now obviously the traditional stick floats are sort of like, you know, the cane or what was it, lignum stick floats. These kind of rivers that are sort of like a little bit turbulent, you know, lots of fast paces, stream of weed, and then the odd slow, alloy stick floats are definitely the best. Now you can tell they're alloy because of this alloy stem here. You can get loads of different kinds of sort of like tips for them. You can get like dome tips, you can get thicker tips than that, you can get sort of like I can't remember the word I'm bloody looking for. What are the words I'm looking for, Rich? Dome, insert, yeah, the insert one. You get the insert ones which are really sensitive. I've gone for sort of like a hybrid one, so it's on like a bit of a dome, but it's got that insert there, so it's really sensitive. I've got it dotted right down, but look how simple it is to put that float on, and I can change that in an instant. You know, if you're moving swims quite often, you encounter a swim that's like really shallow, put something like this on. Encounter a swim that's really deep and you want to go a little bit deeper, just put a different size float on. You know, a bigger float takes more shot. You change in an instant with these rubbers. So top, middle, bottom rubber. Now this is set to a depth of around sort of 4 foot, but the beauty of these stick floats, you can change them around, you can move that depth nice and easy. Now I've not had a go yet, folks, I promise. I've had a go. There's a lot of fish, you can see them like flashing through the bait, so obviously the fish are really shallow, but I want to try and catch some barbel. Now the barbel do love this flow on the inside, so what I'm going to do to start off with is go a little bit deeper, a little bit over depth, and hopefully we'll catch a barbel. If not, we'll just come shallow, and that's the beauty of that. You see when my stots are down here, if you get on them, Richard, I can move in a one, are you on it? So that's the top of my stots there, which I'll go through the shotting pattern in a sec. I can move that float down there, like that, really simple, and I can fish shallow. It fixes everything, folks, doesn't it? I know I waffle on about fishing shallow all the time, but it generally does fix everything. Just fish shallow. But for today's purposes, we're going to go a little bit deeper, fish on the bottom and see what happens. So coming down to the shots themselves, Now, this is where presentation comes into it. Yes, I could almost fish this like I've got the bolo with a bulk and a dropper, or a bulk and one dropper, but with stick float fishing, the beauty of shotting it like we've got now is it picks up every little bit of tow in the river, and it looks so natural, folks. When that rig's going through, it looks so natural. As long as you, well, we'll go through that when we're fishing. As long as you're sort of like controlling the float, keeping your float on a bit of an angle so that you're sort of like trotting through like that, oh, it's so good. And all we've got is literally a series of number 8s, doubled up number 8 stots. Again, stots, not shots, so I can move them nice and easy on my line. We've got a series of, what have we got there? 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 7 lots of 2 number 8s, and then we've got an 8-inch 0.14 hook length again, to the same hook as I've had on them other 2 rigs, which is a 14's GPMB, and there'll be double bronze maggot going on everything today, folks. Can't fish a river and not fish bronze maggot, so I can't wait for this now. I only need to catch like a couple of fish and then job done, like, but I'm going to be catching more than a couple of fish on this, folks, I can assure you. So I can't wait to get going on that. Let's go and see if we can catch a barbel, but let's just go and catch some fishes. Yeah! Just before we get going then, folks, I want to talk you through plumbing up. I don't really pay too much attention, if I'm honest, with this style of stick float fishing, plumbing up, but as a guide I want to make sure that I am down towards the bottom, if you like, and then it's just a case of coming off the bottom, going a little bit more over depth, depending on how you're trotting that stick float through, which we'll go through when we get fishing on it in a sec. So don't use little babby plummets like these 15-20 gram ones that you'd use on your normal commercial. Go for something much heavier, like a 40 grammer. And all I'm going to be doing, because I'm only fishing off my rod tip here, I'm literally I've got the bail arm on there, the anti-reverse on there, and I'm going to hold it at arm's length and the rod right on the tip there, and that's where I'm going to be putting my float in there, so I know I'm on the bottom. Now if I obviously go downstream a little bit, remember me saying before, it gets slightly shallower, which is perfect, but where I'm putting my rig in and my bait in there, I'm just sort of like just on the bottom, so it's just creeping through, which is perfect. But as I said before, with stick float, as a guide, I'll always start off like that, just slightly over depth, but I'll be constantly moving that. You'll see me in a bit, probably after we've had a couple of fish, I'll move that stick float down there and we'll be catching sort of more fish through the water. So as a guide, get plummet on, make sure you stay on the bottom, but change around with your depth loads on the stick. Right, come on, let's go and catch some fishes. Here we go then, folks, the bestest way of fishing in the whole wide world ever, the stick float, and I absolutely can't wait for this. So I'm not going to lie, I put a little bit of bait in, so I put some hemp in, bronze maggots. Now it's obvious that you'll see when we get going, you can see some fish flashing through the water. There'll probably be, well, there'll be everything in the river: chub, roach, dace, grayling, trout. I'd imagine they'd be grayling. But what I want to do to start with and show you how versatile this way of stick float fishing is to start off down towards the bottom. But more importantly than that is how I control the stick flow. What I see all too often, certainly when I'm coaching, is anglers with a massive bow in the line. The beauty we've got here, we can sit down, yeah, but exactly the same as if I was roving, I didn't have a box, we're not fishing far out. The main amount of flow is only sort of like a rod length out, 14 or 15 foot, that's all. So what you'll see me do, feed first, rig in over the top, and then I'll be keeping my finger on the spool of the reel. Yes, I'm in complete control all the time. Then I release, trap the line again, so I've got complete control of that float all the time. I don't want to be letting the line out and letting all that line go slack, because you will miss every single bite going, folks, yeah? So make sure you've got a tight line to the float. And as I touched upon previously, before I started waffling, the rig's so versatile. So we're going to be, I'll bring that float right back down to the stots, probably miss a few bites then, just because all the fish feed up in the water. It's exactly the same, you know, when you're fishing shallow on blooming commercials, the fish are feeding like really aggressively, darting in and out your bait, we will miss some bites. So I've got the excuses in already. So right, come on, let's get on with it without further ado. So double bronze maggots is what we're going to go for, both hooked through the tip. Cheeky. Now I have put quite a bit of hemp in, so I'm not going to put any more hemp in, but what I will do just before I go to put the rig out is put some maggots in. Yeah, so don't don't bother about putting sort of 5 or 6 in, get some maggots in, you know, sort of like 25 or 30. So some maggots in there, floating over the top, then instantly I've grabbed the top of the spool. So you can see how slow that float's going down. Now I've just seen a fish underneath that, so you see already got that bite. So there's a little brownie, go on the brownies. Got a bite straight away then. And obviously them maggots are nowhere near the bottom, folks, absolutely nowhere near the bottom, but it just shows you how high up in the water them fish will come. Now, beautiful, look at the state of that, folks. When you get in on that, I don't want to like loosen my grip too much because trout are proper little jumpers. You're getting the spots and everything. Absolute stunning wild brown trout. Now, as always, folks, with these river fish, make sure that yeah, he's ready to go, that they've got a lot of kick in them. So I'm going to put a few more magpies in there, double maggot on again, but it just shows you how quick the fishing is on this. And I think it's why I love it so much. Certainly like the roving aspect to it in the winter, so good. You can exhaust the swim, just go somewhere else. So again, just before we go out, put some bait in and just put that float over the top. So you see I'm laying the rig in, so my bait is always in front of my float. So I've got a nice tight line there, and I'm, if anything, inching it through sort of half pace. I could go sort of a bit faster if I wanted to, just let that go a little bit faster like that. But at the minute I just want to go half pace. Ooh, I missed a little bit of bite then, a little dinky bite. We'll get some more bait in. And that's the beauty of river fishing, you can just keep that feed going in because it's getting washed out all the time. So you see I'm keeping my line behind my float. So there we go, another little fish. Wet my hands. So you're in direct contact all the time. What's this one? This is a little dace. Little dace this one, folks, and he's nailed it. As I say, it's such a versatile rig. There you go, little daceries. Such a versatile rig, but so good. Just the beauty of these rivers, these little rivers, you do not know what you're going to hook next. Yeah, so 2 trots down, we've got 2 different fish. Got brownie and that dace. Be nice to catch a chub, nice to catch a grayling as well. So again, put that bait right in the maggots. You can see the maggots. I can see there's odd fish flashing amongst them as well, folks. So let's have this one more go down towards the bottom. Now probably what I'll do is just shallow up just to show you. Oh, not going to go there. Yeah, oh, he's on. We bumped him. We bumped him, folks. The maggots, they're a bit chewed, but they'll probably be all right. Get some maggots in over the top. I'm going to hold my float back this time until, there you go, my maggots are right in my float. Yeah, it's really, really effective, accurate way of fishing. There we go. That's something better. What's that? Is that a grayling? That might be a grayling, that, folks. Yeah, go on the graylings. So 3 trots down, 3 different fish. How good is that? Get in my net. Wet my hands. Go on the grayling. How good is this? It's just magical, isn't it? Absolutely magical. Right, I'm going to attempt to hold this grayling up for you, folks, but if you've never caught grayling before, they are the wiriest. They're almost like a barbel. You know that barbel, like twisting and turning all the time? Grayling are exactly the same. So I'm going to hold it over my landing net, but they're so wiry and real fit fish, and they've got a right smell to them as well. They smell like thymy, cucumber. Look at that beauty there though. Stunning female grayling. You can tell it's a female. This big fin here, I'm just going to hold it up. A male has got a massive big dorsal fin. Yeah, the female's got a much smaller one. The male's is like twice the size of that. I'm just going to stay on this a little bit longer because grayling love to feed sort of up in the water, and show you the versatility of this rig. So I'm going to slide that float down to them stots because I can see fish flashing through the water. So they're really coming up high in that water to intercept that bait. So we should get bite much quicker. Now it's even more important now, folks, to make sure that you're trotting down with your maggot. So what I'll do this time is not hold back as tight. I'll let that float go through a little bit faster, so I'm keeping in touch with my bait all the time. There we go. So my bait's in amongst the maggots. I'm just letting that float go down a little bit faster, and striking while make sure you strike to the side. There we go. How quick was that? Yeah. So you see how quick them fish come up. That's a little, what's that we're on? We're a little dace. Little dace. Yeah, so different way of presenting that bait. I'm going to do it again. I can't get enough of this, folks. We've caught enough already, haven't we? But I just can't get enough of it. So different way of presenting the bait. Yeah, first off on the bottom, nice and slow, so you're in control all the time. This style, when you're fishing sort of like up in the water, if you like, your float needs to be in your maggots all the time. Yeah, let it go down the full pace of that river. So you see I'm still in control of my float though. Yeah, my line's directly behind my float. Just let it go down. It goes a little bit shallower down there. So you see what I'm doing now, I'm going to let line out and trap the line. There we go. Yeah, just got a little bit shallower there. What have we got here? What have we got here? Go on the chubbies! So we are ending it on the chub. Ending it on the bestest fish in the whole wide world, folks. Beautiful little chub. How good was that? It's honestly, I am going to stay here probably until next month now, folks, catching a fish after fish on the stick float. The best way of fishing ever. As always, folks, get out, give it a try. There's got to be waters like you, rivers like you, somewhere by that you can travel dead light. Little babby bait apron, some bait, a disgorger, your landing net, your rod. That's it, that is all you need. As always, folks, if you've liked these videos, please, please, please don't forget to like, subscribe, hit the notification button, and then that'll tell you when I'm putting these daft videos out for you. But yeah, joking apart, hope you've enjoyed it as much as I have, folks. That is the bestest way of fishing and why I go fishing right there in Awana. Get out and give it a go. Yeah!